Emily, what are the three things that we need to know about the mobile space today?
Um, well, I think the first thing is that it's in transition, in the same way that Germany was in transition when the wall fell. You had Eastern Europeans who had a way of doing things and thinking about things, and you had Western, did I say East Germans thinking about things in a certain way, and West Germans thinking about things in another way. And the wall came down, and there was a moment of great joy and anticipation, but there was a real clash of opinions and views. And the mobile space is going from a closed ecosystem where there was an enormous amount of control exerted by mobile operators, and to a lesser degree the people who make mobile handsets, to a much more open world that looks more like the internet, because in fact it is the internet. It's the mobile internet that also happens to facilitate phone calls. So there's a massive shift in power and a massive change in attitude and a massive impact on economics and culture and everything. So I would say that's the first thing to learn. Second thing to learn is that the mobile revolution looks very different depending on where you land on the planet. If you came from Mars, the mobile revolution here is in North America and Western Europe is really about the incredible portability of experience. We're mobile people. Our history is nomadic as a species, and we love the idea that we can take things with us. And so for us, it's all about the convenience and the real time, and you can always know what's going on and have all your assets with you wherever you are. But in other parts of the world, what's happening in mobile and what's important about mobile is that it's not augmenting existing infrastructure. It is the first real infrastructure that some marketplaces have had in India and in sub-Saharan Africa and in other places that haven't had banking or consistent means of healthcare or any other kind of access to information about market pricing. The mobile network is the first infrastructure impoverished peoples have had. So your perception of what the value and the significance of the mobile revolution is varies tremendously on where you are, and what your opportunities as a business person are depend on where you're thinking of focusing your efforts. And you said three things. What's the third thing? The third thing is, I think it's the single most important thing happening in the emergence of technology in our lifetimes right now. I mean, you're young. I've already lived through several waves of technology. The last big thing was the commercialization of the internet starting in the mid-90s. The ubiquity of the mobile platform and the tremendous acceleration and the capability of the access devices and our imaginations, acceleration of our imaginations about what we can do with all that, that's as meaningful on its own as the internet was.
So you touched upon this a little bit, but some of the opportunities that are going to be coming with mobile right now, we see advertisement is in the news, and there's mobile gaming. Are there some other areas that you think are soon going to be influenced more heavily by mobile that aren't yet right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure I would say advertising in its current form. We all started talking a lot a couple of years ago about mobile advertising, and I was as frothy about it as everybody else. But I think my own realization has been that messaging, market messages through the internet have evolved to look very different than the marketing messages we have gotten from other media. It took a while for that to settle down. And I think that I firmly believe that the mobile platform and the mobile ecosystem will be a tremendous place for messaging about brands and products and services, but I don't think it'll be advertising per se. I mean, the screens are too small, all the obvious problems, but I think the real issue is that you can integrate marketing messages with activities, location and search and commerce in real time, and I think that's all going to look very different than advertising as a sort of siloed activity. Gaming, for sure, but I think media consumption in general, I think ultimately we'll be able to live in this cloud of media consumption that hopefully can follow us wherever we go, and I'll be able to leave my house, get in my car, get on the subway, and have my calls, my headlines from whatever replaces the New York Times in my life, have that stuff follow me from device to device. And it's really about media becoming an anywhere thing that can move around. What are the other opportunities? you know, within an enterprise, we all get carried away with the consumer opportunities because we're all consumers and we can all visualize that. It's really easy. But within business, having a device in your pocket of some kind that can alert you to whether the atmospheric levels in the space you're in are unsafe, like if you're in a mine and you're, you know, breathing the wrong kind of air, or whether you're in some personal risk and you can press a panic button because you're in a psych ward and a patient is off his meds and attacking you. The fact that you can have some general purpose, very capable technology in your pocket or on your hip with you all the time, I think will completely transform how we do work, how we work with each other. And I think that in some senses is absolutely as sexy and as important in looking at the economic impact of mobility as all the more superficially sexy consumer stuff.
And what do you think about the issue of privacy? Because as you mentioned with location-based mobile, there's currently you often have to opt in. Do you see that there might be a backlash against advertisers knowing so much about us?
Oh, I'm sure there will. If I could find the sports book on, you know, betting on a blow-up of mobile privacy, I would, you know, put my bet down now at the beginning of the season. Not that I want anything bad to happen, but I think it's inevitable because we're all feeling our way. And, you know, technology is facilitating bad things as well as good things. And, you know, somebody will be kidnapped or some, you know, elderly patient who's getting in-home blood sugar monitoring will have a blip in the monitoring because the wireless network cuts out. You know, there will be some security and personal safety issues that emerge with the ubiquity of mobile activities, and there will be, you know, Senate hearings and media frenzy and, you know, regulation, which tends to trail bad stuff happening. Where that ends up, I don't know. But I think broadly, the benefits of sharing my whereabouts for me are ultimately going to personally outweigh the privacy issues, as long as I feel in control. And that's what happened with internet commerce. In the very early days, people were saying to me, "You typed your credit card number into a website? Really?" And now, you probably never thought twice about it in your life. When you got your first credit card, it was already a done deal to do. Meanwhile, everybody in my generation was joking about, well, you give it to a waiter in a restaurant, who knows what he does with it. So part of it's acclimation to the risks, and I think we have a long way to go in terms of getting acclimated to the risks of that.
For business leaders today, many of them who are in charge of organizations are a generation or two older than the current generation that's growing up with these mobile devices. How do you think the generation that's in charge can keep up to date with trends and use these new skills in the workplace?
It's really hard. Speaking as someone who's at least one or two generations removed from the vanguard of a lot of the mobile technology, people tell me about cool stuff all the time because they know I'm interested, and they tell me about cool stuff, and the first thing I have to do is bite my tongue and say, "Are you kidding me?" Because my innate reaction is, no, that's not going to happen. But Bob Metcalfe, who was one of the co-inventors of Ethernet, was one of the co-founders of 3Com, a tremendous guy who I interviewed for my book. I asked him the same question because we were laughing about how hard it is. And he said, well, you know, he was a venture capitalist, or he is a venture capitalist now, and he said, I've missed several important investment opportunities because I looked at it and I did my own belly button research. I looked at me and I said, nah, I don't want to do that. And I can't afford to do that as a venture capitalist. I have to figure out how to do it. He says, so I just try everything. So the only thing I do, and the only advice I have for anybody my age or older, is to say, you know, bite your lip, try not to roll your eyes, you know, pretend that you're not talking to someone who's the age of your own children, and say, yeah, look, I should try it, and just make yourself try it. I felt that way about Twitter when people started telling me about Twitter. I thought, really? No. But I get it. I do get it. And you just have, it's not as obvious to us as it is to you, and you just have to keep trying.